Oh, looks like Laura's in the afterlife from To Your Eternity. Well, I guess there's not going to be any Six Ranger this week, so yeah, farewell for now, my friends and all that. See you next week. Wow, we actually got an intro where they didn't recycle Manatsu's usual speech for the umpteenth time. Nice. But yeah, they recapped the events of last week, and thus we open where we left off with the Precure in the search for their fish friend. Said friend was still in the middle of discussing things with Mephisto, I mean the witch, as they removed the tape from her mouth. Yeah, probably should have started with that. Of course, Laura refused, even after the witch further explained her goals. My god, she's gonna create a world where everyone just lies around. No expectations, no responsibilities, nothing but pure laziness abound. Where do I sign up? Seriously, there's something kind of cynical about following that up with Laura saying that there's no one who would desire such a world. Yeah, sure, Laura. Still, if anything, this lady knew the value in belating things, so she sent her down a trapdoor that I'm pretty sure was installed by someone from across. Yada. Like I keep saying, dude, you're not Jotaro or even Jolene. That said, I'm not sure if even a heavy cage would fall down that fast with enough force that it breaks, but honestly, let's not worry about the science of this show and its invincible makeup. We then finally got a little more world building concerning the witch's goals, which was to use something called the Fool's Casket to create her world of slots, so yeah, we're still kind of in the dark about all of this, aren't we? Meanwhile, Nume and Chongie were looking for more sources of motivation energy and went with a cruise ship that I'm pretty sure doesn't have that much energy to go around. I mean, usually I just sleep in my cabin. Oh, and I also did wonder what happened to the Botnia from last week, but I'm guessing this was it, having been reverted back into its ball form and cracked open like an egg to let out all of its innards. Yeah, you know, this show can be pretty messed up when you stop and think about it. With that in mind, I do wonder what's gonna happen to those dock workers now that their motivation is gone. Maybe they'll eventually get it back like Manatsu did, though they might not have their jobs by then. Anyway, the generals created two monsters, which attracted the attention of the Precure, who believed Laura might be there. Obviously, she wasn't, so they did the smart thing and had Manatsu split off to continue the search while they made sure the Yaneda didn't escape. However, the villains had the same idea, and Chongie even tried to discourage Manatsu by pointing out the opportunity the witch was giving Laura. And while I usually hate this phrase, I will admit it's well used here. Back with said Little Mermaid, in a nice little bit of visual storytelling, they showed the bruises on Laura's hand, literally hammering home how much she wanted to get back to her friends. And fortunately, Kurun was somehow in the cell with her. Don't know when the seal got there, considering the last time we saw it was in the Aquapot, which as we'll soon see was still with the witch. So yeah, how did this creature get in here?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
In any case, the body of Blubber managed to squeeze between the bars and went to steal the keys. However, a wayward line about their favorite food alerted Elda, who then tried to take it back to the cell. Though this turned out to be just as good as getting the keys, as apparently this shrimp didn't see Jurassic World.
She's still in there. We just can't see her for some reason.
Sounds like camouflage.
Oh, nuts.
With that, the two separated with Kurun going ahead while Laura tried to retrieve the Aquapot, but that didn't quite work out. Yep, I can already hear the sound of that whip being cracked. Still, Laura, rightfully, wasn't all that threatened by her, and further elaborated that she would grant her own wishes. With that, she used Bite, which was super effective, on our big bad. Again, I'm really hoping Butler turns out to be the real final boss of this show. Heck, he even proved his fighting prowess by breaking out a rapier. Okay, I know I keep referencing this, but are we sure this guy isn't just Polnareff with a bigger nose? With that, one good attack from the Silver Chariot managed to knock out Laura. And after that aforementioned near-death experience, Laura woke up in the Mermaid Kingdom in front of the Queen. Did we miss a scene? I mean, they said Kurun took her back, but how did they escape from Butler, and how far away were they from the kingdom that this little seal could push her all the way there?
The answer is don't think about it.
I'm not saying any of this is impossible, it just feels kind of contrived is all I'm saying. Anyway, the Queen did at least tell Laura that her mission to form the Precure had been accomplished, and therefore she was pretty much a shoo-in for the next in succession. Now, if this had been episode 1 Laura, she likely would have called it a day and waited until her coronation, but this wasn't that same selfish mermaid. With that, the Queen gave her a little gift.
これはその時が来ればわかります。
Well, I wasn't expecting to use this clip, but why hold back on classic?
It's a rock! A rock!
Also, nice callback to that same first episode with this layout, but some very different words from Laura.
その思いがあれば大丈夫。お友達が待っていますよ。
Thanks a lot, Queenie. Can't wait to see you in another 20 or so episodes just to dump another power up on us. With that, she made her way back to her friends, and not a second too soon, as they were both KO'd and even had their motivation energy taken. And in low-key, one of Manatsu's best scenes so far in the show, with the real danger of possibly drowning as her powers faded, she only had one thing to say to her friend.
ローラ、無事だったんだね。よかった。
This was more than enough motivation for the mermaid's big moment. And of course, to up the price of entry, her trinket was a completely new product. As always, I must send my regards to those Japanese fathers. Anyway, Laura's transformation sequence was good. Again, I am sad that we never did top Manatsu's sequence, and even this didn't quite have the same energy as Minori's, though I do like that it's a little more subdued than Asuka's, with Oi the flipper jump at the end literally going over the top. I also like how she mostly lets her bubbles do her makeup, except for her nails, more on that in just a bit. Oh, and apparently all of my JoJo references are starting to take new life, as this sequence was allegedly done by Takashi Morita, an animator for the Golden Wind arc, and now I really want to see Laura's Muda Muda. But yeah, overall, I would personally place the sequence 3rd overall. Now, as for the results of it,
yeah.
So yeah, let's just take a minute to actually talk about Laura's Precure design, and yeah, I kind of agree with a lot of my commenters. It's a little much. Now, to be fair, I actually really like 80 or even 90% of this design. I love the puffy sleeves that look like clams and even kind of make her look like a pirate.
But I don't want to be a pirate!
Her wearing pants under her skirt makes a lot of sense because, like a certain teddy bear, she's not used to wearing something to cover up her bottom half. And that extra long bow on her back just looks cool. Yeah, it's probably impractical, but damn it, it's cool. And of course, the fact that her charm point are her nails makes a lot of sense, as even the first episode established that all her makeup can't stay on her in water, where she's the most at home. Conversely, while nail polishes aren't totally waterproof, they are at least resistant enough for this situation. All that said, that 10% I don't care for, oh boy is it a doozy. Like, I guess these are supposed to be big pearls, but each of them are at least half the size of her head, and the more I look at them, in combination with that headpiece, all I can see is... Good luck on seeing that. One last thing that a couple of my friends pointed out to me was her color scheme. Now, while blue, pink, and white have always been a part of Laura's design, not only are those colors more pronounced in this design, but the way they're distributed actually kind of looks like the transgender flag. Now, I won't say anything conclusive just yet, as again, pink, blue, and white have always been common colors in this franchise, but considering that my friends are part of the LGBTQ community and what month this is, I do think I should at least point out this possibility. According to them, her going from mermaid to human might be an allegory for transitioning, which if it is, that's a nice subtle message that's not at all intrusive to this story, and has been handled very well considering what Laura has already gone through. I won't dig too much more into this because again, I don't have any conclusive evidence, but I will say this, whether or not this was Toei's intent, I think we can all agree they're already doing it a lot better than PPG 2016 ever did. With that, she princess carried Manatsu back onto the cruiser, really subtle there guys, and I'm guessing as a part of her new powers, she could take back motivation energy without weakening the monsters first. A little OP, but still fairly balanced for a 6 ranger at least. Also, points for really shortening the group transformation here because they probably knew this episode was running out of time. In fact, Laura's debut fight was disappointingly kind of short and was really just one kick before we got to the finishers. Oh man, going into this one after learning that there were going to be 3 animation directors for this one episode did have me a little concerned that usually having more than one of them can kind of throw things off. It's the common too many chefs in the kitchen conundrum, where even if they are all talented, you're going to end up with some undercooked pasta, as styles will clash, which, yeah, was kind of the case here. Now, to be fair, some of the animation here was really good. I'd imagine a lot of that was the work of the character designer, Yukiko Nakatani. If you drew the characters, then you might know how to animate them. It's not always the case, but for Nakatani, with stuff like this and Gold Princess, yeah, she can handle it, giving us at least this nice sequence. Thus, I kind of wish she had also done Laura's finisher, which apparently was done by Keisuke Toyoda, and is mostly just charging up, and yeah, this is my least favorite finisher of the season. Still, I do wonder what her victory pose is like, and whoa! Well, at least that Yaneda is getting quite the view while it's dying. Again, while I do appreciate that so far Laura's not being portrayed as the OP 6 Ranger, Azumi, I also can't exactly call this a great debut fight. Anyway, they returned to shore to de-transform, and Laura had discovered what toes look like. Man, to think she didn't even have to ask her ridiculously swole father for a favor. With that, the episode ended with Laura moving in with Manatsu. Good luck unpacking all those boxes. I've still got a ways to go. And surprisingly, we already got a slightly new ending sequence. I mean, yeah, the song was new and much catchier in my opinion, but don't think I didn't notice y'all reusing sequences from the first ending to cut corners. Nah, of course, I understand the need to do that in these times, and there were at least some new sequences. Most importantly, I very much appreciate that they're dancing in front of some very plot-significant locations, in particular the club room, which is miles better than just doing it on some random boring beach with mostly just a blue sky behind them. This was nowhere near as good as last week's. Now, to be fair, trying to match up with a God tier episode is never going to be easy, and this episode was certainly no slouch on its own. Laura went through a great arc where I do feel comfortable saying that she earned the title of a Precure, and so far she's avoiding all the pitfalls of the Sixth Ranger. At the very least, it's a very above average episode, though I still do have a few issues with the lack of world building until now, and the little Queen Ex Machina. Again, I really must praise how they've handled Laura's arc throughout the show. She, believably, went from a little brat, who at times you could argue was no better than the witch, to a legitimate heroine who, in spite of being under no obligation to continue supporting the Precure, had learned the importance of a little something called friendship, and more importantly, kindness.
I do what I do because it's right, and above all, it's kind.
Thus, I can definitely buy her becoming a Precure, even if a lot of the stuff at the finish line didn't quite pan out. Again, putting aside my issues of not having the same brilliant directing from last week, which is a high bar, I do still wish we got a little more build up to the witch, who is so out of shape that a bite on the hand foils her. Same can be said for her counterpart in the Mermaid Queen, whom, after being away for 16 episodes, just gave Laura her transformation trinket after she somehow was transported to her. Again, things just felt a little too convenient and unexplained. And as a result, the show is kind of exposing some of its weaknesses. Like, while I will often prefer character interactions over world building, which this show has in spades, this little bit between Laura and Manatsu is low-key one of my favorite moments. Not having any of the latter can lead to some slight ass pulls like this. Now, they do at least seem to have some sort of end goal for the witch's schemes, so I do hope they expand on them, so that I can at least care about her or Butler. In fact, I'm legit kind of holding out that this dude becomes the final boss. For now though, in spite of a lackluster debut fight, Laura is at least a balanced Sixth Ranger, only maybe being slightly stronger than the others, and again, her arc has been great. Let's hope after this little Lemaire introduction arc, we can start building towards other things that really need it. By the way, if the sound quality sounded at all better during this video, that's likely because I've moved into my new, much spacier apartment. I might need to work on the lighting a little bit, but one problem at a time. Gotta say, moving to a new place is never easy, especially when the movers forget to pack your towels and shampoo and you have to wash your hair with soap, but hey, that's life. If you actually want to see how moving in is going, feel free to follow me on Instagram. To say the least, it is a gradual process. Still, until my next video, farewell for now, my friends, and if you'll excuse me,
Yes,
I got a lot of figures to put away.